All right, before we go to our next guest, which is Jane Jin, she was at Tiananmen Square that day back in, 1989? Before we do, let me remind you, I haven't stopped for one break yet tonight, folks. Look how much truth we're cranking out. I do want to tell you this real quick. We got an email today, and Jane Jin, again, she was there at Tiananmen Square. You don't want to miss my interview with her here. Going to go a little long tonight. But we're brought to you, one of our sponsors is this company right here, Bella Grace. Melissa and I take it every day. One of our regular listeners is Paul. I know Paul's listening right now. He's a faithful listener. Here's what he sent to Melissa today, and we asked if we could read this on the air, and he said yes. He said, since I started taking Bella Grace, I no longer have neuropathy symptoms. Wow. You know that where your foot gets numb or tingles? I mean, how do you walk if you can't feel your foot, right? That's a fear of falling. Then you got a fear about, breaking a leg or something or a hip, right? So since he started taking it, I no longer have symptoms of this neuropathy. Also, the psoriasis has left. The psoriasis has left. No reoccurrence since using Bella Grace Elixir. In addition, I have no more eye bags caused by CPAC machine. Okay, that's one of the things he said. He added to it, I've also been taking acid reflux for 13 years. For acid reflux, but taking a pill for it, but no longer take any pill because of the elixir. Also, my barber said my hair is growing new growth. Well, I can identify with that. I was taking Pepcid every day since, years and years and years until December 2nd last year when I started taking this. I haven't taken a Pepcid since. He said he also has more energy. He sleeps better. And when he wakes up, he's more rested. He's not tired. Now, this is our friend Paul. Okay. He comes to our Ozarks conference. We know Paul. Okay, this is Paul's personal testimony he sent in tonight about this afternoon, and Melissa said, Paul, can Brannon read this on the air? So there you go. We get so many of these. This is not a joke. It's got 80 clinical trials behind it. Get a subscription. Get a subscription and save. This is one of our biggest sponsors, folks. So you're not only, I think, helping yourself and your health, but you're helping us because this is one of our biggest sponsors. Okay, so please get a subscription and try it out. You'll save with the subscription. MelissaHouseBG.com, MelissaHouseBG.com. All right. Now, let's go to Jane Jin. I had the chance of interviewing her a few years ago at CPAC, and she's been very patient waiting for us. And thank you so much. We're going to go a little long tonight. She was at Tiananmen Square when that went down there. We'll roll some B-roll footage so everybody can see it and remember it, particularly the young people who maybe don't remember that. Jane, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Come back again.
So you were right out of the university in China, and then you were helping some of your young friends organize against the CCP. You wanted liberty. You wanted freedom. You were one of the people in Tiananmen Square that day, correct?
Yes, I have been there for several weeks, basically. And I was offended and sent it to a hospital. I didn't even know who sent it to me there and so on. Because it was such a hot summer.
Let me just stop right there. You broke your leg or broke your foot or something. That's why you had to go to the hospital after being there in the square with all what was going on? You broke something, right?
Yes. I was trying to organize people to make the barricade all from vertical to be horizontal so that we can stop the tanks. So
you're trying to make a barricade and stop the tanks, and in the process you get your foot broken, and then you end up going to the hospital. And I know the story. They won't treat you because you guys were called terrorists. Now, isn't that interesting? You're fighting for liberty and freedom, and you guys were called terrorists. And people today in America who are fighting for liberty and freedom are called domestic terrorists, kind of the same thing. So you show up at the hospital, and they wouldn't treat you because you're a, quote, terrorist, right?
Yes, because they sent me to several different hospitals, and no one took me. And because in the end, I found out that they told one of the hospitals told me. So the Central Committee of the Chinese Communist Party in the government and had a notice to all the hospitals cannot receive or treat anybody from the Tiananmen Square because they are terrorists. So it was a big time for me and the person who tried to find the hospital for me. And so finally, somebody told me, you have to go back to your original insured company, the hospital. So our propaganda bureau, Foreign Languages Express, it's in the western suburb, basically. And my hospital, contractor hospital, is also in the west side. But Tiananmen is way in east side, probably about 1 or 2 hours ride of bicycles there. So when I was sent to Muxidi Hospital, and I was placed as one of the room, and I just hear from the Muxidi area that bridge, people were fighting and tried to stop the military went to passing through. So that time I hear people were shouting and screaming, and then one person came into the hospital receptionist desk, but there is no one was there, and he just pick up the phone and start shouting against the Chinese military, highest ranking, and just say dirty words to them, because the fighting started from Muxidi Bridge, because the military were coming from the west side. And so about 20 minutes or 30 minutes, finally, I heard a lot of people suddenly come in, hurry up, and here and there. Then somebody come to my room very quickly. It was a doctor, said, okay, we have to get you out of here. You're not, your injury is not heavy, not as serious as other people. So my bone was broken, he said. So he found a little wooden stick put underneath of my foot and put something for prevent inflammation, and then use those cotton thing, rub it up very quickly, said, you go out and see your own doctor later. Now we have more people have a more serious injury. Now we have to treat them. And so it was a start from Muxidi, the military come in all the way toward the east side of the Chang'an Street. And so that day, while the car drove, while I was on the car, they looked for the hospital for me. And we saw people are so mad, and because everybody feel today is the fighting day and could be last day. And then we see some workers, somebody drove a truckload of bricks toward the Tiananmen direction. And then some area we passing by, already people using the bricks and try to throw at the tanks and the military. And when I see people are so mad, everybody cannot do anything, have nothing in our hand. And also, you can also think about in 2019, when the Hong Kong people in the university get attacked, they have nothing else but umbrella. And it makes me really, really appreciate the United States constitutional rights, the Second Amendment. If Chinese people have the gun, Chinese people will not end up like today, cannot even have a word to speak out their mind, and would get the Chinese Communist Party regime either disappeared or killed or arrest you just because you say something they don't like. So the United amazing history there, the importance of the Second Amendment. For the sake of time, let me
let me jump real quick to that being your background story. Obviously, you've been in the United States. You were shepherded out of China. You were able to make it to America. I think you've run for Congress. And by the way, recently, weren't you just appointed a leadership in the Republican Party in your state of Washington State?
Yes, we had a great Washington State Republican convention, and we have a lot of patriotic people showed up. I heard it is historical, about 4,000 people showed up, and I made a couple of speeches there. And I think people need to wake up. The CCP Black Hands has been sticking to the United States, quietly attacking us. This war has begun long time ago. So I call for stop the CCP infiltration, and we must help the Chinese people to end that one-party dictatorship regime. And people like what I said, so I was elected as a national delegate for July event. And so I'm honored. I thank people to trust me. And so basically that convention went really successful, and people passed all kinds of resolutions. And also we endorsed some people to run the government position. And to me, I see both parties, because I used to be a Democrat for about 29 years. So I woke up because of the war, and I really don't like a war killing people. And so that's why I found out when Obama was a president, and he said he against the war and so on. But after he was arrested, he had more wars keep going, for Afghanistan war and the Iran war. You know, I just don't think I can trust this kind of a person, lie to people. And not only that, Obama is the president during the real estate that bomb totally crashed that time. And he said to people he would have a Obama loan modification. But actually, it's a totally cheating game. And he basically bailed out banks without any condition. But for the ordinary people, you just trapped by the different kind of banks. And a friend of mine have a house. 3 banks claim, or they all claim to own his house. And so
3 people claim to own it. 3 people claim to own his house.
3 banks all claims own his house.
3 banks.
Yeah,
3 banks.
But yeah, so in the end, they just try to foreclose on his home. Just whoever got there first, try to get his house. You know, he worked really hard and to buy a house and to repair it, to maintain it. But because he was in the remodel industry, and during the Obama period of time, we had, I believe it's a human-made crash in the field of real estate. And because during that period of time, Obama invited many Chinese so-called investors to America, and they pay a dime a dollar trade. What a good deal is that? And it is just selling America in the worst time. And Chinese people
selling America out, letting China come in and buy a lot of our land. It's ridiculous. Let me ask you a couple points here before we get ready to wrap, going a little long tonight. I want you to talk about a couple things. Number one, we got China buying up radio stations in America. I mean, anybody can put this into a search engine. I mean, everything seems to be here that China has is here and they're taking over. I think China, Washington State, from what I'm hearing, Washington, D.C., China runs largely has enough influence and control over politicians that they can run the government of California, get pretty much what they want. They can pretty much run the government of Washington State. They can pretty much run Washington, D.C. Let's start there. True or false? Does China largely run Washington, D.C., Washington State, California, and some other states as well due to their influence operations? True or false?
Yes, that is true, unfortunately. For example, we know the California governor went to China how many times, we don't care. But the result is last year, November, when Chinese dictator Xi Jinping visited California and had planned to meet Joe Biden there. And this Governor Newsom really did a lot of work. Normally, his cities just full of drugs and pee everywhere and dirty and homeless and also drug users everywhere. But right before Xi Jinping arrived, he really cleaned it up. And not only that, have about a 6-foot tall barricades and the metal bars all set up to protect this Chinese dictator. And also several blocks all blocked up and business have to shut down. That is what happened.
Let me make sure our audience, let me make sure our audience understands what you're saying. There, you got Xi Jinping coming into San Francisco. Obviously, that's California. They block it off. They give him all the security. And then all of a sudden you start seeing all these Chinese folks who many are, I think, CCP people who've come in through our immigration system. They have come in through our educational, they got educational passports to come in for a while. They come here and all of a sudden you have all these CCP people lining the streets in San Francisco with their CCP flags. And the next thing I heard from you, recently was, then those very CC people start physically attacking you guys who are pointing out the truth and using your First Amendment right to expose Xi Jinping, what he's done to your country. And these CCP people who are on the streets of San Francisco begin to physically attack you, and the police do nothing. Is that true?
That's so true, because before Xi Jinping arrived to California, the Chinese Communist Party regime just used their existing underground Chinese Communist Party regime branches. They purchased, hired, and paid more than 2,000 Chinese thugs and spies. And they all shipped in, flew in, and arrived to there to welcome that Chinese dictator Xi Jinping. And the cost is everything paid by the Chinese Communist Party regime. From
all
their
paid for.
All paid
their
for.
Clothes, their shoes, everything. All paid for by CCP. All right, so there's that. There's that. China is influencing California, Washington State, Washington, D.C., etc. Okay, let's go to another issue. Now we have CCP police stations in various parts of the U.S. that are allowed to be here for some reason. They got the CCP police stations here who are using their new authority, apparently, to intimidate people like you and your friends here in America that are warning about the CCP. They're setting up police stations here and monitoring students, making sure the students are here, behaving themselves, going along with the party ideas, not becoming too Americanized, not listening to American propaganda. They're here monitoring the teachers that have come from China to be a part of the teaching school program that they have that we've all been warning about for years. I can't remember the name of it now, escapes me off the top of my head, but it's a education program where these folks come right out of the CCP, come to America and start teaching in our elementary schools. What's it called? Do you remember the name of that school?
Confucius Institute. It's a
Confucius Institute. That's right. Confucius Institutes, right. So the CCP police departments are here in America are monitoring all those teachers that came over from the CCP here to teach. They're making sure they're all in line doing what they should be doing, right?
I know in our Tacoma, Washington, there is, even today, the Confucius Institute. We went to Governor Jay Inslee's office, demand him to help us to shut it down. He cheated us, lied to us, and his office manager told us he would meet us, but he didn't. And then next time when we went there, before we went back, I found out Jay Inslee already promoted by the Chinese Communist Party regime, national TV, global TV, and said this is the good friend of China, and they should support him to be the United States president that time. And so he openly offered the Chinese Communist Party regime our missile defense high tech. And this is our governor of Washington State. And
Your governor of Washington State.
Flag in our Capitol building in Olympia. And people have to protest against this kind of totally surrounded to the CCP Communist Party regime. And they can do more damages than the CCP could do, because all these corrupted officials are bottled up and being used by the CCP Communist Party regime. And
absolutely, they're being used. Let me ask you about the radio stations. Now I hear the CCP is buying radio stations and they're running newspapers all over the U.S. Have you heard this as well?
It is it is entire United States and the worldwide network by the Xinhua News Agency. And they have a Chinese version and also English version. They are everywhere. They guide people, what do you think? Coerce people, what do you think? And threatening some people if you have certain ideas. The Chinese Communist Party regime don't like you to think that way. And the Chinese Communist Party regime have a good experience from the history. In 1930s, they already know propaganda is very important. So that's why in 1953, they established this so-called, I think it's called Chinese Communist Party Propaganda Bureau, I call it. It's called Foreign Languages Express. There are all different kinds of languages in the world.
Foreign Language Express. Well, they give it nice sounding names. But look at this headline. This is from back in 2015. Beijing's covert radio network airs China-friendly news across Washington and the world. This is, again, back in 2015. WCRW is part of an expanding global web of 33 stations in China, in which China's involvement is obscured. And, of course, it's gotten worse since 2015. They're buying radio stations, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, getting way more worse. You remember there's a Wendy Deng married Rupert Murdoch, and that Chinese beautiful spy really found out more information about how the big media tycoon run his media businesses. So right around that period of time, Chinese Communist Party regime started hosting international communication and media big international conference every year in mainland China. And all the major medias, including the United States, UK and France, and even Africa, everywhere, all the major medias, owners or anchors, famous people, all invited to China and have that so-called international meeting. And the Chinese Communist Party regime decide who get the award. Can you believe that? And in Seattle, we have a Chinese radio station. And they even help the selected, agreed, I believe, by the CCP regime, those who so-called friendly friends to China, to run whatever government position. And that radio station will put out an ad, help organize people, get together, make the donation, and support them running for the government position in the United States. Can you believe all this is actually happening? And there were three.
No, you cannot. I cannot.
There were three.
Let me ask you this in closing. Yep. There are three. What? I'm sorry.
There were three congressmen supported by the CCP regime, and they supported each other, protected each other, and they, against the select committee on CCP set up, they totally against America's interest and America national security. We are really in danger because the CCP knows if the United States don't have an internal inside enemy, this country will still be strong. So therefore, the corrupted officials is the key part of take down the United States. They are helping.
I hope you guys understand what she just said. I hope you understand what she just said. Your corrupted, co-opted American leaders, the CCP, co-opting your corrupted American leaders is crucial to the takedown of America. And this is what Jane Jin has been warning about. Her website, by the way, is freeourchina.com. I'll show it here on the screen, freeourchina.com. She's been warning about this for years. I've interviewed her several times. I've interviewed her in person. She's just been elected to some leadership positions in the Republican Party of Washington State. 4,000 people showed up. She gave a few speeches, and she got elected, and I'm thankful for that. Congratulations on that, by the way, Jane. Appreciate your being with us tonight.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Jane,
you have a good program.
Thank you. We're going to get you back on, Jane. I do have one final question. Do you join Gordon Chang in being concerned about all the CCP military age males that are here in the U.S.? And are you concerned that they will, when tapped, carry out terrorist attacks, terrorist bombings, going after our critical infrastructure, going after our water? These are things Gordon Chang has warned about. Do you agree with him?
I totally agree with Gordon. And those are sleeping cells. And in Chinese military way, we say, raise the military 1,000 days, only use one time. Those have been here. And some of them I already know, they are sent to here from the Chinese Military University. And they are coming over here to learn specific thing they were pointed to study. And so that's why the United States high tech shouldn't allow them to learn. And also, I believe the United States now must realize the CCP infiltration, big portion of it is via money. So those big companies, for the money, they would sell our military high tech to the CCP regime quietly. This should be treason, and this should be punished. And also, the high tech company help the CCP regime expanding their infiltration, sign the agreement, and have different branches expanding the CCP spyware. Zoom meeting is one of the big part of it, and TikTok and WeChat, and also many, many unknown VPNs and websites. They are there all the time attacking us, and they have been shutting down the Chinese Democracy and Human Rights Alliance East Coast Vice President Mr. Jimin Bai's Twitter account, even recently, and keep shutting it down. And this is unbelievable. We thought because Elon Musk is pro-free speech, and this kind of thing after he took over wouldn't happen. But it is still happening because the cells, sleeping cells inside our companies are still there. And we must
Wow,
do
the cells, those cells are still inside those companies. And so we wonder why nothing changes. Wow. Jane Jean, thank you so much, Jane, for being with us. Again, her website, saveourchina.com, saveourchina.com. Thank you, Jane, for being with us and your courage, and congratulations on your new leadership role. Thank you, Jane. Great seeing you tonight.
Just represented Washington, one person. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jane Jean checking in tonight, folks. Let me show you this right quick. Went a little long tonight, folks, but we're brought to you by you. Take a look at this right here, WVWFoundation.com. This is one of the quickest, fastest, and most efficient ways to support us. Do you know that? Because we don't have to ship product to you. We don't have to buy product and turn around and resell it. It's just the quickest and fastest way to get us the most support the fastest by just going to WVWFoundation.com. Hey, do you think Fox News would spend 30 minutes with her? Do you think Fox News would spend an hour tonight with Terry Turchi like we did? Or how about with Rick Weibel and Garland Favorito tonight? We've been on the air now 2 hours straight, 2.5 counting the Worldview Report. So again, folks, you get a lot for your money. I stopped and plugged one thing. Because, again, sometimes we just have to just keep going because the truth that we're getting out is more important than ads. But, folks, the ads pay the bills. But if you want to support us, the foundation is the quickest and fastest way to do it. WVWFoundation.com, WVWFoundation.com. You'll also find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail. We'll put these clips up, the entire segments, at worldviewtube.com for you to share free of charge with your family and friends. I'm Brannon Howse. Thanks for watching. May God save America. Take care.